It is not often that you have a midweek UFC card, but that's exactly what we have this week, and so you know we're going to be here. Welcome into our brand new show, Combat Coach, powered by the Coach Picks. I am the coach, your host, and of course, our resident expert, the man who's going to pick every single fight on the card. You know him. You see him at Ian Parker MMA. Ian, good evening. Are you fired up for a midweek UFC Fight Island card?
Nothing like a Wednesday morning to watch the little fights to get through the rest of the week so that we can lead into that beautiful card on Saturday. I'm pumped. Let's do it.
It is going to be a really big week for us here at the Coach Picks. Really excited. We're going to have a show tonight that will release, a big show on Saturday, and we've got a little surprise on where Ian is going to show up later this week on a national level. But we'll save that for Friday night on the show. We got to jump right in because we like to do this show in 20 minutes or less. We don't want to waste your time, but we want to get to every single fight on the card. Ian, are you ready?
Born ready. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay, we're going to start from the bottom, work all the way up to the main event. 13 fights are scheduled. Hopefully 13 fights come off. Let's start with the prelims. And let me preface, I may butcher a lot of these names because there's a lot of hard ones tonight. So we may butcher them together. So here we go. Victoria Leonardo against Manon Fiorot. Hopefully I got that right. Fiorot, a 200 minus 200 favorite. Leonardo coming back at plus 160. The over 2.5 minus 185. The under coming back at plus 155 for this flyweight matchup. What do you see?
I'm going to go with the favorite here. I just think there's too many ways to win in this one. So give me Manon in this one, please. Let's do it.
Cool. All right, second one. And when you look at a couple of these last names on this fight card, and if you just look at the last name, you'd be like, oh, wow. Khabib's fighting? But no, it's the little brothers. It's a family member. So it's pretty cool because the family members are actually in Fight Island. We know Khabib is there. The second fight, Umar Nurmagomedov, minus 540, a robust favorite against Sergey Razov, plus 390. The over 2.5 coming in at minus 210, and the under 2.5 plus 170. This is a bantamweight matchup. What do you like?
Yeah, this should be I hate to say a gimme fight, but Umar is going to win this fight. I also don't mind the over here. I think, with his style, he's a grinder. Not a ton of finishes on the feet, tries to get it done on the ground. But I think Sergey's tough enough to go all three, but Umar is going to win this fight for sure.
Okay, very good. Fight number 3 on the card, a lightweight matchup. Mike Davis, minus 160, taking on Mason Jones, plus 130. The over 2.5 coming back at 145. The other 2.5 is plus money, plus 115. What do you like in this one?
This is an interesting fight. So Mike Davis did well in the Contender Series, came into the UFC a little bit of an up and down, losing Gilbert Burns and smashing Thomas Gifford. However, his camp in Thailand got shut down, so we don't really know what he's been up to. Mason Jones is a double champ from Cage Warriors coming over here. He was originally at plus 200, now down to plus 135. I think this is a good time to shoot for the underdog, so I'm going to roll with Mason Jones on this one.
And by the way, you mentioned he was a double champ in Cage Warriors. Can you tell me the only other person who did the exact same thing in Cage Warriors?
Besides me, the notorious Conor McGregor. Yeah, no, it was Conor. Thank you. I tried. Yeah, no, obviously outside of Conor, Mason Jones has been the only other one to do it. And Mason Jones, the only difference, Mason Jones is undefeated.
Look at that. Only you're going to get it right here on Combat Coach. Okay, next fight on the card. Francisco Figueiredo, minus 150 against Jerome Rivera, plus 120. This is a flyweight matchup. If the name sounds familiar, again, his older brother, 2 years older, is the champ in this division, if I'm not mistaken, correct? The over 2.5, minus 180, the under 2.5, plus 150. Give it to me.
This fight's also a challenging one. He is the younger brother of the champ. Not the best takedown defense. However, again, a very skilled fighter. Jerome Rivera has been in a lot of fights where he's been winning as a pretty decent wrestler, and then he gets caught. I don't know if that's going to happen here. So with this fight, I'm going to take the over.
Okay, taking the over, which is 2.5, and that's at minus 180 if you're scoring at home. By the way, do you think there's ever a shot? Because brothers don't like to fight each other. I would imagine that at some point these two will fight in different divisions because I could never see two brothers fighting in the UFC. Could you?
The closest shot we had might have been the Shamrock brothers at one point because they at one point really just didn't like each other. And you know that from your days in WWE, I'm sure. With the situation here, it won't happen. I mean, the younger Fig is never going to touch where the older one is, to be fair. The older one's just on a different level of fighting, and they're only 2 years apart in age. So you can kind of see the difference there. The only two brothers I'd love to see fight would be Nick and Nate Diaz. I
Oh,
think if it was the right amount of money, because listen, they've had to have sparred each other how many times? Why not do it in a UFC cage?
yeah, I would love to see that. I think the entire MMA world would love to see
Yeah,
that. Although, who knows what
won't
kind of
happen.
shape Nick would be in at this point. He hasn't fought in so long. Okay, next fight on the card here, and I'm going to completely butcher this. Dalcha Lungabula. I know that's not even close to right. Marcus Perez. Lunga. Minus 145. Perez plus 115. The over is 1.5 in this, minus 150. The under 1.5 coming back at plus 120. Lunga is making the made the UFC debut in 2019. What do you like in this one?
I like Dolph here. I'm not even going to try and go for that last name either. I think he is going to be the stronger, more athletic guy. He's going to be throwing a lot of combinations, and this guy throws a lot of power. His last fight against Ankalaev, that's tough. Ankalaev is going to be a future champ. But Dalcha here is not fighting a guy who's going to be a future champ. It's a guy who's lost his last couple in a row, Marcus Perez. Perez has a strong ground game. If somehow he can outmuscle Dalcha to the ground and use his jiu-jitsu technique, he could steal a round or two, maybe. But Perez just gets too caught up in being a showman. As Cody mentioned earlier, this dude is a wild one. Comes out in Joker face paint for weigh-ins, thinks he's a Brazilian Heath Ledger. He's going to get rocked right here by Dalcha. Give me the favorite at minus 145.
And the Cody name that Ian is talking about is our faithful leader, our producer, Cody Merrow, on the ones and twos. All right, our sixth fight on the card. Sue Madarji taking on Zaruk Adashev, excuse me. Minus 490 here on the favorite, Sue M. Plus 365 coming back for Adashev. Over 1.5, minus 110. The under 1.5 coming back at minus 120. This is a flyweight matchup. What do you like?
Sumuda has been extremely impressive, finishing fights quickly. I think he gets it done here relatively quick as well. I don't like the over-under in this situation because sometimes guys just have better chins and better defense. But even at minus 490, again, a little too juicy straight up, I would throw him in a 2 or 3 fight parlay to get some value. Give me Muda on this one.
And we were telling you in the original episode that when Ian talks about putting in a parlay in MMA betting, if you're not familiar with it, when there's really high favorites like minus 400 or minus 300, you put them together and it brings the odds way down because both have to win. And in MMA fighting, those are really popular bets to make. All right, the seventh fight on the card, Perello plus 370 taking on Simone minus 495. The over 2.5 minus 125. The under coming back at 105. What do you see here?
Yeah, this is a good parlay partner for Muda. Ricky Simone should get this done. His wrestling, his cardio, he's fought way high-level competition. Gaetano Perello has taken this fight on short notice. Ricky Simone's the real deal in this division. You know, a couple of ups and downs with his loss to Uriah Faber, bounced back, dominated Ray Borg. Ricky Simone's going to get this done here.
All right, very good. The final fight on the prelim card, Omar Akhmedov taking on Tom Breeze. This was originally scheduled for last Saturday in the middleweight division. Breeze is a 160 favorite. Akhmedov is coming back at plus 130. The over 2.5 minus 145. The under coming back at plus 115. What do you like in this one?
I do like the over, but I also kind of like Akhmedov at plus 135. And his fight against Chris Weidman, who I think is way higher level competition than Tom Breeze, that's not a knock on Breeze. Amari, it came down to the third round, and he just got wrestled, but he's shown that all-around game. Tom Breeze is a little too inconsistent for me. I'm really surprised he's actually the favorite. Sometimes guys coming off a loss show more than coming off of a really ugly win. So I like Akhmedov at plus 135, and I do like the over here as well.
All right, very good. All right, time to move on to the main card. In the first fight on the main card, Laurent Murphy, minus 315 favorite here against Daga Silva de Andrade, plus 255. The over 2.5, minus 115. The under coming back at the same, minus 115. These are featherweights. What do you like?
Andrade is tough as nails. However, he likes to brawl. He doesn't really have a game plan, and I don't think he's going to threaten Laurent Murphy anywhere. Murphy's a superstar prospect on the rise, and I think this is a great name to get on his resume. I think Laurent Murphy gets it done.
Okay, very good. Made his debut, by the way, UFC debut at UFC 242. He has fought on Fight Island before. I wanted to ask you, for fighters, now that Fight Island has been a couple of times, do you think there's an advantage because of all the travel and the quarantine and everything you have to do to fight on Fight Island?
It just really depends on when you get there. I actually think the Fight Island has presented as more of a neutral situation for both fighters. When you have fights in the United States or guys are coming from around the country, sometimes things get delayed. There's been a lot of times where guys have had to cut weight on planes. It's really gotten
Wow.
that serious. And yeah, I mean, guys have literally been in their sweatsuits on the floor of the plane, whatever it is. They've done what, running up and down. They've hit pads when they're allowed to take their seatbelts off. They do what they need to do because they need enough time to cut all this weight. What Fight Island has really provided outside of quarantining for COVID-19 and everything is it's just a neutral playground for everybody around the world. Everyone gets there around the same time. Everyone has the same amount of quarantine. They really perfected this so that nobody has an advantage in that regard, because outside of that, there's definitely a disadvantage between time change, getting used to that, So it's this is a different, not demon. This is actually more a heavenly situation for the fighters.
All right, very good. Next fight on our card, on the main card rather, Matt Schnell. And for a lot of people that may be just kind of fringe fans of the MMA or the UFC, this dude, and this is where I remember him from more than fighting the last few years, is from the show Caged on MTV a few years ago. He was one of the stars of this show, and now to see him at the UFC is pretty cool because that was focusing on one of the organizations in the Shreveport, Louisiana area, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I
I
think
think
Schnell came out of California
did he
with
really?
that
I'd have
one.
to double check
Yeah,
on that.
yeah, I think that. But to your point though, they did have that in Louisiana as well. It was in a few different locations, but yeah, he did come
Oh,
from that show, and he's the only notable name that you'll remember from that show. So
cool.
for those diehard, non-casual fans, hardcore fans, this is someone Matt Danger Schnell. This is a real interesting fight, and I don't want to rant about too much. Tyson Nam has been around for a long time. Getting into the UFC at his mid-30s is not usually ideal. First fight loss, next two fights, crazy knockout. Schnell has a tendency sometimes to get a little wild, but he will have a huge advantage, I believe, in the speed and on the ground. For a guy who hasn't fought in a little bit of time to only be plus 105 here throws me off a little bit. I think Nam can get this done. If it stays on the feet, I think his power gets there. So I'm going to go with Tyson on this one.
Okay, very good. Moving on to the next fight, the ladies, Modafferi and Rajo, I believe is how you say it. Modafferi is plus 255. Rajo is the favorite here, a really big one at minus 315. The over 2.5, minus 315. The under 2.5, plus 255. That's pretty standard as a lot of these female fights go the distance. What do you like here?
Yeah, I think this one can go the distance too. It's funny. Roxy has been around forever. She has been evolving though. However, she's running into just a super athlete in Vivian, how you ever pronounce her name. On the feet, Roxy's going to have trouble. If she can't clinch up and get this fight to ground, she doesn't win this. She's not going to outstrike Vivian. I just don't see that happening. I'd rather one get finished. So the over, I think, is a good play, but I also like the favorite in this one as well.
Okay, very good. We'll put Vivian down. Yeah, I'm going to learn the more shows we do, whether to use the first names or the last names, because this is embarrassing when you're a professional national broadcaster and you try to do these names. Are you kidding me? Are
As
you
long as they
kidding
know
me?
you're betting on, you're fine. We'll start doing nicknames at some point too. You're
Uh,
better off. It's all good.
I like it. I like it. All right, next fight on the card. Light heavyweight matchup. Ike Villanueva, Vinicius Moreira. Moreira is minus 105. Villanueva minus 125. So a very even matchup, at least as far as the odds are concerned. Over 1.5 plus 105. The under coming back at 135. Villanueva is 36 years old. What do you like in this one?
When it's heavyweights and these guys are so close, it's going to be whoever lands first. So if you are to bet this one, I would go under here. I think someone's going to sleep. I think Villanueva, with the experience, has the slight edge. So if you want to throw some money on this, I don't mind leaning that way, but I think the under is a better play.
Okay, so I'll put a slight edge on Villanueva, but the under is the play you would go. Okay, next fight on the board, and this is the co-main event. Warley Alves plus 195 against Lazez, Lazzez, minus, right now the current odds are minus 245. The over 2.5, minus 105, and the under coming back at minus 125. These are welterweights. What do you like?
Warley Alves has been around for a while. He even beat Colby Covington years back. He's fought a lot of the top guys that are now at the top. A guy who's very strong in his jiu-jitsu game, however, gets really caught up in the stand-up. And against Munir Lazzez, that's going to be a problem. Lazzez came in as a pretty solid prospect against Al-Hazak Hassan. Razak Hassan. I butchered that a little bit. And his last fight is a big underdog, and he smoked him. He looked fantastic, getting the takedowns. Striking looked clean and crisp. His precision was off the wall. Lazzez is minus 245 for a reason. This is a good name, a good veteran to be fighting at this point in his career. I love Lazzez in this spot. I'm going that way.
All right, very good. And finally, we come down to the main event, which I'm really looking forward to. Neil Magny, Michael Chiesa. Magny is the favorite in this one, minus 145. Chiesa is a plus 115. Over 2.5, minus 255. Under coming back at plus 200. They're also in the welterweight division. How do you see this one stacking up?
Yeah, so this is definitely going over 2.5. Neither one of these guys is really known for their finishes. In the last few fights, Michael Chiesa decision, Diego Sanchez decision, RDA, and he's getting comfortable in this new weight class. However, but he tends to fade later on. He puts so much into his grappling, and if he can't get the sub, that gets so much out of your energy, out of your gas tank. Neil Magny has an unlimited gas tank. Range, footwork for days, great takedown defense. If Chiesa can't get him down or keep him against the cage, Neil Magny's going to cruise here. I think Magny's separation defense is phenomenal. His footwork is there. And when I tell you the pace this guy is going to put on, it's going to be insane. So over 2.5, love that because Chiesa won't fade till like in the third. Magny wins this fight. I had him at minus 185. So getting him at minus
Wow.
145, I think is a steal. Just like I said, Holloway was a steal last week. Neil
Yes, you
Magny's
did.
my steal. And I think Neil Magny's out here to prove that he's the dark horse in the division. I really believe. I think Chiesa's got a good future here too. I just think stylistically wise, not the best matchup for Michael. I'm going Neil Magny.
Don't you like the fact that the UFC decided? I don't know exactly when they decided because before it had to be a title on the line to go 5 rounds, but now they've changed it to whatever the main event is for their fight nights and to go 5 rounds. I love that change, don't you?
I do. And, what I really believe is guys that are in the top five and top seven, at some point, I think some of the reasons why these guys don't, when they get there, they have a setback because they're not used to going 5 rounds. It's such a difference. It's such a, guys try to pace themselves. But what you really got to do is got to learn how to be at that 5 round pace for 3 rounds because then you just become that much more dominant. Sometimes the guys that are just, I hate to say less skilled or not as dominant, because of their cardio, they're able to compete and be better. We've seen it with so many fighters out there that in areas they lack, they make up for it because the pace, the output, and the cardio just through the roof. Neil Magny may not be the most popular guy, but when you guys see the cardio on this man tomorrow, I was going to say tomorrow night as if it's Saturday, but like tomorrow morning or afternoon, whatever, wherever you live, you're going to be shocked because it's pretty wild. Go watch this guy fight. His pace, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a guy that he's dangerous in the division. He really is.
Last question because we're approaching our 20-minute time limit. Is there an issue when fighters are used to fighting on Saturday, fighting on a Wednesday?
Not if given the right amount of time. These guys were here with the same time frame as those guys that would be here on a Saturday, so I don't think that's going to play a big role here. And if you're a true professional, you're prepared and ready, and that week shouldn't really matter. Guys like Chiesa and Magny, that shouldn't really have an impact. They've been here before, veterans of the sport. Now it's their time to shine in the main event. So let's see it.
All right, very good. All right, we do it at the end of every single show. Grab your paper, grab your pencils. I'll quickly go through Ian's picks for every single fight. Also, remember, just because he picks these fights doesn't mean these are the bets that he's making because some of them are really high odd guys. So if you really want his premium picks and you want to play along and make some money for a very, very small price, go to the coach picks and you can get all of his picks and play along with him. The link is always in our profiles. We also put it on the post when we put the show out as well. All right, here we go. Starting with the first prelims all the way up to the main event. Fierro, minus 200. He likes in that first one. Nurmagomedov, minus 540. Also likes the over in that fight. Then Jones in the third fight, plus 130. Then the over in the Figueiredo Rivero fight, minus 180 that's coming in at. And then in the fifth fight, you like Dalcha, minus 145. Next fight, Sumu, you like it minus 490. Probably would put it in a parlay to bring that number down. And you like in the next fight, you said might parlay with Simone, who's coming in at
Yes.
495. That could bring that way down as well. Then in the Akhmedov fight, you like Akhmedov plus money, plus 130. You also like the over in this fight. Then to the main card, Murphy minus 315. You also like Nam minus 130. In the ladies, you like the over in this fight. And then you also like Vivian. You said sprinkle a little bit on her. And then you like the under in the Villanueva Moreira fight. And then maybe a slight edge, a slight lean, you said to Villanueva. And then in the co-main event, Lazez minus 245. And then in the main event, you like Magny minus 145. You said you would play it all the way up to minus 185 if you had to. Also, follow Ian on social media as he will be live tweeting all day during these fights that start again noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And this is the only place, Combat Coach, that you get every single pick for every single fight. Ian, good luck. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Right, pal?
You got it.
All right, for Ian, I'm the coach. We'll see you again Friday night, another episode in your feed because this is what we do. And don't forget, all of our lines brought to you by mybookie.com. Right now, use the promo code CoachPicks. You get a 50% reload bonus all the way up to $1,000. Are you kidding me? We're giving you free money. For Ian, for Cody, who puts this whole thing together, I am the coach. We'll see you Friday night. Also, we'll see you on social media tomorrow for Fight Island Wednesday style. See ya.